And that is the beginning of the Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club Dart Board meeting for May 26, 2025 is officially called to order. Last week, we had quite a crowd last week. We had 12 participants. Of course, it's the holiday this week, so we're glad. And, oh, even Bob is here. Okay, terrific. We'll give him a second to log on, see once he's all ready to go. Bob, can you hear us? If you can, just wave and we will continue.
I can hear you.
All right, and we had the opening gavel. So,
is that Len from Alabama?
it is. Is that amazing?
Yeah.
Is technology amazing? So, okay, so here we go. So today is Memorial Day, and I thought, seeing as it is Memorial Day, that we should just take a minute and recognize the radio men who have actually died in battle. And I pulled out these few examples that I just thought were interesting. And of course, to us, it's a hobby. To these guys, it's more serious than that. Of course, in the upper left-hand corner, we have Harry Murphy, right? He was in Hamburger Hill, for those who know what that is, 1969. And Wesley Hoffman, right? He was a radio man, World War II. And on the right side here, we have James Adams, who just was MIA and declared dead about a year later. So that's a tough one. So it's for real. And today's Memorial Day, and we stand up and our hats off and we salute these folks. But in addition, in addition to that, I just want to talk about Ernie Pyle, because that's from my side of the house, I guess. Ernie Pyle was an American war correspondent, and he was known for stories about ordinary American soldiers during World War II. He had this folksy style, you know, human interest stories, and he reported from Europe and the Pacific theaters. He won the Pulitzer Prize in 1944 for his newspaper accounts of dog-face infantry soldiers, because he gave that first-person perspective. Ernie Pyle was killed by enemy fire in Hiroshima during the Battle of Okinawa. So there you go. Anyway, it is. Okay, serious stuff. Anyway, back home
a little. Joe?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, Joe, it's Al. Hey, it's been exactly 1 year to the day that the propagation gods took our good buddy Don W.A.A.D. away from us. 1 year ago today on Memorial Day.
Is that right? Is that right? Well, thank you. Thanks for that. All right. Well, our hats off, and life is it can be a challenge at times.
And Don, as you know, Don was a veteran. As you know, I'm pretty sure you're aware of Vietnam, right? He was a platoon leader underneath Schwarzkopf. Actually, that was his commanding officer. But, Don was a platoon leader in the fields of Vietnam. So,
wow.
Yeah, he saw a lot of battle, actually. So, yeah, fitting way for him to go, I guess, or a fitting day. Huh?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, much too soon. We could have used a lot more Don, and, less from others. So, unfortunately, he's no longer with us, only in spirit.
In spirit, for sure. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, thanks, Al. All right. A little closer to home, we do want to just call our attention to give our thank you to John A88UU. Thank you for his leadership there in keeping the Hazel Park Amateur Radio Club Dart repeater on the air, and our air monitors, right? Len and Mike 1, Mike 2, Mike 3. John WATOY, who's up north. Les is here, KF8UU, and Al, K8ALH, our air monitors. So keeping the conversation, keeping it friendly. All right, now here we have the team. This is the team that's going to make this project happen. Now, not everybody's picture is the best, and I'd like to have the best picture. And Al, actually, I don't even have a single photograph of you that I could have used. I have odds and ends there. But if you're interested, send me something, and I'll be glad to fill it in.
I actually didn't even see my name up there until just recently.
Oh, yeah, right here. Yeah, yeah. I have it divided. Okay. I have it divided into two main sections, I guess. You know, the technical wizards, of course, and biz ops, so business operations. So there we go. But this is the group. There may be more, and folks hopefully stay part of this along the way there. So, and then here were some assignments, but we won't get caught up in that right at the moment, but just some of the things that folks are interested in, and I want to be able to fine-tune that a little bit as we continue forth. So, a lot of words here. Our strategy, let me just do this real quick. So our strategy is this. We want to define the desired functionality. In other words, what do we want this thing to do? We're going to come up with some candidates, hardware-wise, and then see who fits in the best. So that's our goal. Now, just a little reminder of how this system works. It's a little bit complicated, not too bad if you understand it, but if you start off over here, this is the DART itself, right? And we have a total of 5 remote receivers, 3 of which are working now. 2 are in limbo at the time, but we're up on the hospital there, on the Ascension Hospital, and then here at Detroit City Airport. What happens is these sites here will receive VHF signals, 146.640, right, or 040 on the transmit side. And they will receive that, and then they, at each one of these sites, we have a remote receiver that then couples it cross-band coupling there to UHF, and these are the links. These are the auxiliary links. Here, link 5, 6, 7, and 8, and that's what goes to the DART, and then, of course, it has one transmitter going back to everybody, and that's kind of our system. And the reason I bring it up is just to get a little bit of an understanding of our layout. This is our current layout. It's going to change a little bit, but we're going to maintain the same sort of block diagram where we receive these are the inbound receivers on this antenna. Here goes to a UHF preamp and a splitter, an 8-way splitter. We only use 4 of the outputs that are feeding these 4 UHF receivers, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they feed the voter. And the voter, when it's working right, is going to pick the signal that has the least amount of noise in it, and then it'll choose one of the signals and feed it to the repeater controller. That audio gets processed and fed into the actual repeater itself, which is the transmitter, and from there it gets amplified, sent into the duplexer, and out into the ether it goes. So that's kind of the idea there. This is our existing IP networking plan. This is going to be rebuilt from the ground up, completely brand new, and that we got a great IP team who will be doing that. We're going to keep this drawing though, because this is our existing configuration and it's a bit of our history. So this will be squirreled away in the library. Our plan for this is still a rough plan. It still needs attention, which it did not receive again this week, but it's the same basic idea where we develop a plan. We do have to do the antenna footprint, which we talked about a little bit last week. Got a little bit more to say about it now. We'll get 3 proposals. We'll send them to a vendor, purchase the hardware, have it delivered, and get it assembled. Okay. So this is how, beginning with the next few slides, is what's going to be used when we send out our request to our vendors explaining what on earth are we talking about here. So here's a picture. This is the penthouse on top of the apartment building, right? And as you know, our existing antennas on the left and our UHF antennas on the right. That UHF antenna is the antenna that receives all the signals from the remote stations, okay? And of course, our primary concern is these attachments to the building themselves. When you look on, this is what it looks like from the outside. Zoom in here, you can see that these are nothing more than pipe clamps. Although I will say there's like an L bracket that the pipe is actually sitting on, so they're not holding the weight. These pipe clamps just keep the pipe clamped to the side of the wall there, but it's not the best idea. And then here's what it looks like on the other side. I mean, you know, really? So it's time. It's time. It's time to redo all this. This is the VHF side. This is that little L bracket down here I'm talking about, and that's on the other side. And then this is what that wall looks like, right? So it's it's sheet metal, a little bit of insulation, another sheet of sheet metal, and out you go. So this is what we're looking at here. So let me ask you this question. So what do we want to do? So we want to move these antennas, and we want to make them a little bit more sturdy than they are. So if you look at this drawing here, this is the idea. We would take the VHF antenna and move it a little bit to the left to this corner, and we would have it attached to the steel membrane here. The same going the other way, although this antenna is pretty much where it actually belongs there. So that is just, you can see.
I
so
love the slide, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it really helps really put it in perspective. And what we really do is we want to really increase the survivability, the probability of this thing surviving, you know. I mean, if you look at these now, and I know somebody said this antenna is not quite like that, but it is. I mean, there's a photograph of it. It's not even straight. So anyway, this is what we're up against. But I have another issue about this whole thing anyway. I mean, look around here. So let's say there was a tornado. Very likely it could happen in the next number of years. But even if there was, look at all these things that are on the roof, this ladder, these vents, all that are, you know what? These things look like they're made out of tin foil. And I can assure you that just with a little bit of wind, these things are going to be flying. And I don't know, hopefully they won't hit our antennas there. So let me ask you this idea. Think about this for a minute, okay? And also, this does create quite a bit of wind, because it's a flat surface. But, and I don't know if this is possible or not, but what do you think of this idea here? So, not too far away, we have this television tower. And interesting. It's very, very interesting. This one belongs to Channel 4, WDIV. And if you zoom in closely to it, if you look up here at about the 500-foot level, okay, you see an antenna up there. What that happens to be is that's the VHF antenna. It's on 140-something, the weather, NOAA weather. When you tune into the NOAA weather service, that signal's coming off of that antenna. So it's a VHF antenna, right? Well, suppose another one could go up there. I mean, and I don't know what's all involved in this. This is just an idea, okay? But I can tell you this much. First of all, this thing's more aerodynamic than being on the roof of the apartment building. So I don't know what all is involved here, but it might be something that we want to look into. But I did learn something in putting this together. This antenna's about 900 feet above ground level, okay? And here I picked the 500-foot point. You could always tell because the reds and the white sections are 100 feet each, right? And then each one of these levels is 10 feet. So that's how they build these towers. But here's the one thing again. So if we were to do that over here, look at this elevation. And this elevation, if you can follow this line, goes right there. And this happens to be the roof of the Remsen building, okay? The roof. It's 590 feet above ground level right there, all right? Now, when you come out to where we're located out here and you take a look at this, you add the height of the antenna, 500 foot above the normal elevation, that's a gain of about 600 feet. So we would be 600 feet above the W8GM repeater. Plus, we're not on the edge on the border. We're more in the middle, so we have more of a 360 usage area there. So anyway, something to keep in mind. But anyway, think of it, talking about antennas. So again, what's
the feasibility of getting up there, Joe? I mean, is that...
Well,
I don't even know how that happens.
Well, we're going to find out about that. I know some people there, and let me see. Listen, I've been away a long time now, but I'm going to ask that question. And it may not, even if it is possible eventually, it may take a year or two, but it's something to think about seriously, and especially if we're going to be part of this emergency network, Sean's network. Maybe we get a little sway in the decision makers there. But anyway, it just popped into my head, and the real reason is, I think that would give us the highest probability of survivability.
Yeah, but is that just pie in the sky at this point? I mean, you're talking about a year or more, and I'd hate to push off our project for.
I agree, but I think it's something we should do in parallel and continue pushing forward. It's not pie in the sky in that there are on these towers oftentimes other antennas that sometimes are not being used. And in fact, that's what's happening that's how we got our antenna on top of the water tower and other facilities. This antenna has been up there, this tower has been there longer than I've been alive. So there's things on it, and I know they don't leave things on that aren't active, but I think it's at least worth looking into, and let's see what happens.
So Joe, I take it you like my suggestion from last year, huh?
Oh, I do. I've been, yeah. That's
very good. Wallace is on WJBK's tower over there in West Southfield too.
Right.
That's the Spirit of 76.
Yeah.
That's the one that causes the intermon on 5.2 between the Dart and the Spirit. So.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, if they're up there,
competing heights, so there'll be a lot more IMD happening on some people's front ends. That's for sure. If you do that, put it on the south side of the tower, please. Actually, it would help the south reception. We can't hear anything to the south of the Dart right now.
Yeah.
Downriver has a hard time. Out to the west, southwest has a hard time getting into the repeater. Everyone hears it fine. It's at a great transmitting location, but unfortunately, it's down RF Alley. It's down the 696 corridor. There's a lot of I sent you a link last week of all the commercial
I saw
towers.
that. Lots of towers, yeah.
I don't know. I sent it to the club overall. I don't know if everybody gets the response to all or not, but it's very, very interesting to see how many other towers are in competition and frequencies. And it'll tell you the call sign and the operating frequency of each tower and who's all on it. So it's something to keep in consideration. Yeah, something like this in isotropic, basically atmosphere, right? Is basically what the antenna is designed to be. The Dart right now is sitting on top of a tin can.
Yeah.
That's all shrouded in metal.
Yeah.
Who knows what kind of RFI and radiation and, we're picking up just off of the building that it's mounted to.
Right.
If you're going to mount it to there, you're going to want to lift it up higher off that metal structure. That's for sure.
So let's look into this.
In the down tilt angle right now, in the location of the Dart, it doesn't pick up anything low in the umbrella, the shadow of the Dart right now. The down tilt angle is probably wrong for the location of the antenna. Lift the antenna up a little bit higher on that roof, and it'll have a better down tilt angle to pick up the weaker stations like Lester on his HT and mobiles along 696 that can't get into the Dart, and they're a mile away from it.
Yeah, it's crazy. When you're in the ditch, it's tough.
There's too much gain. You want to keep a low gain antenna up there. Your elevation is going to put out enough power, enough power. The low gain antenna has a high takeoff angle, which means in the opposite, a low receive angle below it. A high gain antenna has a low takeoff angle. It's flat to the horizon, so it's not going to hear anything low. If we were out in the country, yeah, you'd want a high gain antenna for receiving and transmitting. But here in the city, I think, if the elevation you're looking at, especially if you can get on the tower, you would need that high of a high gain antenna. Something, more controllable under wind, and you wouldn't have to worry about wind loads with a smaller antenna at that elevation.
And we also
there's a lot of
bigger footprint.
We also have that problem with that Ohio station too, don't we? In August, Yeah. Anyway, listen. Okay, we could go on about this. I think it's worth pursuing. I'd be more than happy to be part of that effort, and let's see where it goes. We'll see where it goes, and if we can, All right. Anyway, so this is the antenna. This is the antenna we currently have, and the reason I just want to show one thing. This antenna is collinear. It's like two antennas end to end underneath a fiberglass protection there. But you can see here 7 point the gain. So gain, omnidirectional gain, and you see it's listed in dBi and dBd. So I thought that I would just pull out a slide from the extra class license course just to make sure we all understand the difference. So dBi is, of course, isotropic. So an isotropic antenna has a point in the middle, and it emits an RF wave equally in every direction, and there is zero gain on an isotropic antenna. Now, if you take your fingers and you just pinch together these two ends, you end up with something that looks like that, which is a dipole. And so, because an isotropic antenna doesn't really exist, it's just theoretical. The guys in the field, when they're doing real work, they need something they can actually use. So, a lot of times they use a dipole antenna. But the gain is about 2.1, 2.2 dB difference. So that's the difference between dBd and dBi. So you just subtract 2.15 and you get one or the other. But be careful, those guys up in sales, they're always trying to, pull a fast one there. So we got to keep track of when we're talking about gains of the antenna. Oh, we'd love to have this antenna. We certainly would, but if you could find it, let me know. I can't find it anywhere. So these are our we talked about this, and I was going to get this out. Did I distribute this? I can't. Oh, we'll get back to that. But anyway, these are the antennas that are up right now for consideration. This diamond antenna, right? It's got about 6 dB, but that's dBd of gain, right? So 654. It's about 5.1, 5.2 dBi. But anyway, for me, it's got too many parts. These loops are just places where ice can collect, water can collect and freeze, and it's wind can. You know what? Why have all those parts when you can have an antenna that does basically a little bit better even in gain, and it's just a stick and it's less prone to the elements. So that's kind of what I'm sort of thinking. But I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. If you have any ideas or something to say, please let us know.
Did you look at the GM antenna, what they have on top of the Rensen?
Funny, we're looking at it right now. This is it. This is what they have. They have the except theirs is they have one dipole in each direction every 90 degrees, right? So the same sort of a thing, but anyway, this here we're in the 1800s. This is, I don't know how they get away with such a cheap price here, $225, and they're claiming 6 dBd. So go figure.
I have one of those GP9s.
Oh, do you really?
That's not a repeater antenna. That's a base station antenna.
Okay. I'm with you there, and especially if we're going up on a tower one day, something else. Although right now I would. We're sticking with the roof of the apartment building, but anyway, I cut somebody off, so I guess not. Okay, all right.
I was just saying, you see the 3 sections?
Yes.
You want a one-piece radome if you're going to use an omnidirectional repeater antenna as opposed to the folded 4-bay antenna like the Rensen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, those. At that elevation, those long antennas whip around so much in that wind those nylon bushings, those washers, those thrust washers in between each section wear out over time, and the water ingresses down each tube and then eventually down to the bottom, and it fills up like a giant test tube of water. And especially if they don't have a weeping hole in the bottom, in the matching unit at the bottom. Always something you got to look for on these collinear antennas. If it doesn't have a weeping hole, put one in. Use a small drill bit. Otherwise, you're going to be repairing the antenna.
Yeah, for sure. Once the water, the moisture, you got to... Anyway, but that's a good point. But it's, it could work, I suppose. And then...
Yeah, I don't know how it's been lately, but the GM repeater on top of the Rensen, I haven't done too much on it in the last probably 6 or 7 months. But prior to that, it was up and down and up and down. When it's up, oh my gosh, it's so nice. But when it's down, it's just down.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's antenna issues they're having or what.
Yeah.
Probably wind.
Yeah. It's, listen, these are living, breathing systems that need constant maintenance. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if it's because of that antenna, yikes.
Yeah. I mean, why?
Works great when it's up.
They were having metal fatigue problems with it.
Yeah. Because it really must be subjected to some heavy-duty winds up there, but...
The antenna cracked a few times. They had it repaired.
Yeah. So
is that what it was?
Yeah, they had metal fatigue.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I'm all for the fiberglass thing. I mean, look, the thing lasted 40 years. You can't beat that. Now here's one. It's the gain is not so great, but they
have another one I sent you there last week, Joe. The 150 F6, not the F2, the F6.
Oh, okay.
And it's priced a hell of a lot more reasonable.
Oh, great. Okay, you send it to me. I'll look.
Yes, included in that whole. I sent it to everybody. I don't know who gets my emails when I reply to all.
I get them.
Yes, I sent you a copy of all of them.
Yeah. Okay.
The F6 might be the way to go if you don't want to use the folded bay.
Yeah. Well, we'll take a look. We'll take a look. I'll look at that. All right. Speaking of antennas, well, okay. So we got to figure out, before we change out this antenna, what are we doing? We talked about this last week, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But this is a calculation that was made. It's got to be 30 years ago, as far as I can tell, but it's a long time ago. But we need to do our own calculation, and we need to actually do a footprint, and this is the software that will help us do that. But so here we want to be able to drive around. We want to be able to take real points, because different things happen. It's not just about how good the signal is in a particular point. There's many different aspects. And what I meant by that, it isn't just about what the signal strength of a signal is. There's a lot of other factors that are going on that we need to be able to nail down. And Al, I know you'll like this picture. So here's a study we did a number of years ago, and this has to do with the Spirit of 76 when it was first brought to our attention. And as you can see, looking at this, I won't spend a lot of time on it, but basically what it's basically saying is from the location, which is I'm at what's Quarton? Quarton's like a 16-mile and Telegraph, okay, in that area there. So I'm pretty far from the repeater, so I'm not being overloaded in any way. So you can see that at a certain distance, the repeater is clean. However, within that 2-mile range, or whatever that is, right around in Oak Park there, this overload is a real problem of the front ends, and a lot of this mixing, I suspect, is taking place within individual receivers. But I think this is a great project. I'd like to really nail this down. And again, let's get some information. We'll get some data on how, exactly what's going on. So that's in here too. So.
And actually, Joe, that last one isn't Garden City. It's 146.88. It's Jackson, and another distant repeater in Ohio. A couple of them actually, but it's the equal distance from both directions. F2 squared minus F1 and F1 squared minus F2. So it's 146.88 is the IMD interference in the location, in the footprint that it's happening in. It's not 8.6, it's 8.8. But Jackson isn't that close, so you don't have to worry about interfering with that repeater. I'd be worried more so about the intermod happening between the input and the output.
Right.
And the third order happening there is on 147.24, and that's the Wyandotte. And that one you can actually hear probably within 5 miles of the dart. You don't have to be fundamentally overloaded. That one is being transmitted. That's something that has to be looked into immediately. As soon as you get a service monitor up there, you got to figure out where the IMD is coming between the input and the output. Right. I don't know if John's online or not, but it might have something to do with the transmitting of the VHF input on the input of the UHF from his house via his Echolink hookup to link the two repeaters, as crazy as this lunk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is intermod happening between the input and the output, which is more serious than fundamentally overloading, local receivers like mine or Lester's maybe, or Mark. I know it happens to Mark and you. I think it happens to you as well. Plus some other local hams.
Although that overloading is one of the things that causes it because it drives the amplifiers into the nonlinear portion. But again, this is the stuff that I'm fascinated with. I love doing it, but there's other things pop up along the way. So, but it's on the radar screen, and and now that we're going to be driving around taking these test points, it's a good. It's a good time, really perfect time to seeing where we see the interference. These are just the coordination frequencies here. All right, so when we take these points, where are we going to go? We need about a list of 25 points. I'm hoping that somebody smarter about this than I am can get involved here and pick some of these. But again, the obvious population areas, right? Critical emergency services, the transportation corridors, all this. I mean, this all makes sense in order to be able to take these readings so that we know that when we're done with our antenna work, at the very least, we're equal to what we have, and hopefully we're better. But don't get too fired up about things changing much, because the antenna fundamentally is working okay, and we may see a little bit of change, hopefully more than that, but this project is really more for the stabilization physically of the antennas, and it gives us an opportunity to change them out, and for the next generation, and then they can figure it out after that. Okay.
Joe, I got one. Can we revert a little bit back to possible relocation of the DART over to WDIV?
Okay.
If we think about this, if we're going to have this loan, this grant, to incorporate a new system, I think if you're going to do it, you might want to find out if we can relocate first before investing in a location that's might be moved down the line, because you're going to have a tuned antenna. That tuned antenna is going to be tuned at a certain height by the commercial company. You're going to have a commercial company have to put it up, and then you're going to have someone take it down from there and then perhaps move it to another location. You're going to have who knows how much more money invested in hardline. There's going to be other entities and other probably equipment and services needed for the new site. So I don't know if it's an idea or not, maybe to find out if it's even an option before you move forward with the current site. Because you're going to have to reinvest everything all over again then.
Yeah, absolutely. This grant really covers our existing site. It covers our existing site, and for all practical purposes, we're going to proceed accordingly. If we make contact and it looks really encouraging, like there's an antenna up there that was used by a customer, and then the customer, went out of business or something, and now they don't use it. This happens very often on these antennas, on these towers. I know that NBC, who owned their towers originally, sold them all off to third-party vendors. So a lot of times it's a different company altogether. But yeah, the first step is let's just see how steep of a climb it would be, and then we'll make our decision accordingly. But when you started this, Al, when you mentioned WJBK over there, it's like, oh, wait a minute. So they're at 400 feet. We're gonna find one at 500 feet. So we'll get them. We'll get them.
But just out of my curiosity, is the plan to put up a new system and then shut off the old system and take it apart?
Well, okay.
Is that what our plan is? Because if that's our plan, then it would be an easy, or just as easy, to go to the new location, if that works out, and build everything there. And when we're ready, we just shut the other one off.
Yeah, well, that would be the way we would go about it, at least initially. Even, let's just assume for a minute we stay where we are, because unless some really good news comes down the pike very soon. But even if we stay there, for the time being, we would keep both systems up simultaneously, and especially in those initial installation of the new equipment and the new antennas, and we want to compare back and forth, switch and make sure that everything is functioning and working. And in a worst case, we don't have a backup. If the Quantar repeater was to go belly up for whatever reason, what are we going to do? We don't have a piece of equipment to put in there. Probably what we would do is we go over to the UHF site, grab the Yaesu repeater there and bring it over. But we don't even have a backup. So I think we keep our existing in place where it is, even if we were, and I agree with what you said, even if we were to go to the tower, we still keep the backup system where it is. It doesn't make sense to disassemble it, I think. We'll see as we get further down. But anyway, I think we're almost done. So I have a little more information here. So how do we do this footprint? I had mentioned using the SDR Play, which I think is fantastic for all the different reasons. I looked it up at Ham Radio Outlet. First, I went to DX Engineering, I went there first, but they don't carry it. So Ham Radio Outlet, it's $300, okay. And then the antenna, this Hustler antenna is under $100. So we're really talking.
That's the Duro too. That's the 2 input antenna. They make them even cheaper. You can get a mono input for probably $100 less than that.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Yeah, you're right.
That's unnecessary.
Oh, well, okay. But
actually, I have the mono and I put a splitter on it, so I can use 2 inputs off of one just by putting a splitter on it.
So good. Yeah, good point. Anyway, so but I'm just saying this is within the dollars and cents that are sensible. And then of course we have our GPS receiver. I love this thing. How much is this? It's like $40, right, from the GPS store. Anyhow, so that's how we would do this, and then we would take these various screenshots, and just gives us a plethora of information. Not just signal strength, but it'll give us, of course, our S meter reading, our signal to noise ratio, the level of the signal. We would be able to see intermod, I'm hoping, in those locations where it's a problem, and that will help us come up with a better solution. And also it shows we have no spurs here, so we know we're clean coming out. So those are some of the important things, and just a push of a button is just you just grab your screenshot and you just save a series of these as we're driving around. So that's how we would do that. All right. And
I'm ready and raring.
Yeah. So we're getting there. We're getting very close to getting this on the road here. And I think the rest of this is, we've gone through this before. These are a list of, crossing the goal line. These are some of the things that we're going to use of, have we completed successfully? And if we can do that, that would be fantastic. And we have more, I call it crossing the goal line, right? So interesting aspects of all that. We have some action items here. Okay, so last week I sent out that summary. This has probably not been updated, so let me, I know, here's one thing, Andrew's proposal, well, the proposal, anybody who wants it should have it. We need to get it mounted on the shared drive, so maybe that's something that needs to be focused on, and we'll find out there. And that's it. I mean, at some point, we'll talk the repeater. What do we, I think I want to keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. This is the gold standard, but there may be other solutions for us. And then this is an area that really needs to be thought about, and so on. So, and then of course, we'll take a look at all these different options, and that's pretty much. I think that's pretty much what these are. Different repeater controllers that are available that we can look at as well. So we got our IP networking guys hard at work. And we'll talk about duplexers when the time comes. And that's, I think that's it pretty much. We talked about this last week about, and we're nowhere near this, but this is what are we going to use for the remote receivers. We got to redo all that as well. So anyway, that's the long and short of it here. So I just thank everybody. Try to keep it short and quick. We'll mount this on, we'll have this for the folks take a look again. It'll be on YouTube. Thank you, John, W-A-T-O-Y, who's up in northern Michigan at the moment. But we'll get this mounted soon. So
how many more weeks until the money comes?
I'm sorry. So I heard two people talking.
I was saying something. How many more weeks until the funds come in?
Interesting. Good question. It should be soon. You know what? I'll have to do the calculations. They said 4 to 6 weeks. So
by field day.
It's more by field day. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. So David, W8HOO, would like to set up like an experimental link for field day for us between a point and then bring over the internet, internet access over to our location. I think it'd be a fabulous place to test that system, and it'd be great to show it off a little bit. So I told him to go ahead and do what needs to be done to do that. It's a few $100s to make it happen. So I think that's really that's the kind of initiative that this project needs, in terms of coming up with ideas and using the opportunity of other club events to be able to try things out. So
yeah, I updated the field day page, and then I found out that it's also in a post on the front page, which I didn't know was there. And so I updated the post also.
Gotcha, very good.
And I put an update in there for the new board, and so I did a couple of things there.
Hey, Joe, on this RF test for transmitting and reception purposes, what you want to do also is incorporate any base stations that are on the fringe right now. There's a few that are out there that can't get into the system but can hear it really good. And for some of them can get into it really good, maybe on one remote. You turn off that remote, and you do another radio test and see if they can still get into the system on another receive site. So it's going to take a little bit of coordination with turning receivers on and off and doing field reports assessments, especially for mobiles. You're going to have a lot of shadow fading. You're going to have a lot of multipathing in a mobile. You're not going to be able to cure that one way or the other until you get into a clear area. But I guarantee the dart is 5.9, probably plus 20 dB around the whole area, whether you're in a mobile or on a base station. It's getting into it. So if we had a date and a time, we could probably organize all the base stations that can't get into it in a 360 circumference. And then that way you could test the voter, you could test the different receivers and get an accurate report as to what direction is best receiving the dart and best reception and transmitting. But, in a car, you're just going to be shadow fading. You're going to be behind a building. It's going to be going in and out. And I don't, except for being really local and centralized around the umbrella, the footprint within, basically, of the building, that might be a good area for the mobile, because basically that's what you want to get into when you're close to the dart. Weak stations, handy-talkies, and mobile. So you can incorporate all that, plus a base station that can't get in no matter any day of the week or any kind of a propagation enhancement. Like, for instance, out there is Greg. He's in Waterford. He can't make it into the VHF, but, man, he sounds great on the UHF. There's some stations downriver toward Belleville and Southgate and Allen Park that have been trying to get into the net. They can't get into the net. They can barely, they're barely readable. But if they're on UHF, they're in it like solid. So it's going to be more than just sending Mike out driving around in his car and taking readings. You're going to have to organize, have a whole team of people, a network of people, ears, on the ground and at home to be able to give you an accurate report as to where it's being heard and what you're hearing. And then you do it again after the new system's in. So that way you have apples to apples comparison.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's more than just sending Mike and a couple people out driving around in the car.
Yeah.
It's going to be a well-orchestrated, effort by a lot of people. So that would be the one thing you want to get to.
It'll blow everything off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
It's complicated. You know what? It's like predicting the weather. I mean, propagation, the smallest little thing can make a big difference, and you don't count on it.
And it's not necessarily even propagation. November 8 X-Ray Zulu used to be able to hit the dart no problem at all. Then they built the VEC, the Vehicle Engineering Center at General Motors. It's a 8-story building, and he cannot get in anymore.
Yeah.
Obstruction. It's all about obstruction, the multipathing. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's a big, especially, and UHF. But I wonder sometimes if the UHF footprint is larger or more effective than the VHF, frankly.
Probably is.
We have a lot of good, honestly.
Hey, Joe, quick question.
Yeah.
I expect you said it a week or two ago.
Okay.
And I missed it. But so it's still in the back of my head as not being done, so I just got to check. We are signed, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
We are.
All right.
Everything is in place.
A couple weeks ago, you were working on getting it signed, and it had some legal people looking at it and stuff, and that was the last that I heard, and I thought, I got to check and make sure. Thank you.
Yeah, well, just wanted to double check just to make sure we know who we're dealing with and
I
that
totally
sort of
get
thing.
where you were going.
But after the research is done and the right people are looking at it, this is there's a lot of people doing a lot of stuff out there. These are good people doing good things. So
do you have to spend every bit of the grant on this one project? Could we perhaps use some of it at the current location and have like a nest egg in case we do move and it's going to cost a lot more for
we would have to apply, for a grant for that particular thing. And
I've never seen a grant that would allow something like that.
Yeah, not that big. I mean, they'll let us change out things here and there and, small stuff, but, and we want to keep them updated. In fact, you bring up a good point. Maybe I'll put them on our copy list. Let them see that we're really working, we're serious about this, and this is going to be a great system, and we got a great team of people working on it and all that. So, all right, on that note, I guess.
All right. Don't forget, Joe, you're going to send me field day counts.
I am, yes. Thank you for
Thank you.
reminding me. I'll get that to you right now before I forget. Okay.
I appreciate
Super
it. Thank you very
duper.
much, sir.
Bye-bye.
Big weight off my shoulders.
All righty. Thanks. Bye-bye.